So I'll introduce Dr. Arvind Kumar Jha. Dr. Arvind Kumar Jha is currently working as Assistant Professor at the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering, IIT Patna. He completed his MSc from IOETU, Nepal, and PhD from Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, in Geotechnical Engineering. His research interests include areas of soil stabilization, ground improvement, biogeotechnics, geoenvironmental engineering, and rock mechanics. Dr. Jha published more than 30 papers in various national and international journals. He is currently guiding 7 PhD students. He has over 10 years of professional experience, both academia and industries, in the field of geotechnical engineering. He has also received many prestigious awards from ISSMGE Foundation and NEAST Nepal. So we welcome Dr. Arvind Kumar Jha. So incidentally, both chair and co-chair are of same guide students. Both of them were guided by Professor P.V. Shivapallaya at IISc Bangalore. So I'm very happy to introduce the both chair and co-chair. Now the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Raghuveer Rao, for your nice introduction. I welcome the team speakers, the delegates, my co-chair, and all the. I welcome the team speakers, Professor Patra, Professor Manna, Professor Arvindam Day, co-chair, Professor Arvind Jha. I'm very happy to welcome all of you. This particular session, basically we have one SOAP lecture and 2 special lectures. The speakers will speak on the analysis of pond ash embankments and concrete gravity dam foundation system for rock foundations and non-linear ground response analysis. So these are the theme lectures will be delivered by the experts. The first SOAP lecture will be delivered by Dr. Patra of IIT Bangalore.
Professor Ramesh.
I'd like to introduce Dr. Patra briefly. Dr. N.R. Patra is presently working as a professor in the Department of Civil Engineering, Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur, Uttar Pradesh, India. He obtained PhD degree at the Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur, India in the year 2001. Professor Patra has guided so far 12 PhDs, 56 dissertations, and a long number of projects of BTech students. He published technical papers in national, international journals and conference proceedings. He received awards from the Indian Geotechnical Society for his publications. He is actively involved in many continuing education programs. Professor Patra completed many prestigious sponsored research and consultancy projects. So welcome, Professor Patra. You have been given the times 30 minutes for the presentation and 5 minutes for the discussion. Over to Professor Patra. Professor Patra?
Yeah, can you hear me? Is it audible?
Yeah, continue.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, very good afternoon, everybody. It has been given me 30 minutes time, but this work is quite a long. This work started since 2008. So, response analysis of pond ash embankments located in seismic zone 2, 3, 4 India. A comparative study. So, who are the people?
Please share screen, sir.
I have already said, not yet. So, in this project, particularly, it has been funded by TWICE, Department of Science and Technology, and CSIR. And this project is in 2019 has been given one of the best projects. So, there are 6 PhD students continuously they work. Dr. Supriya Mahanti right now, she's in Indian Institute of Technology, Banaras Hindu University. Dr. Sambit Prasanjit Naik, he is right now as a professor in research, South Korea. Vijay recently, she is in IISc Bangalore. Dr. Arga Asa Asango, is in Ethiopia, but right now she's in Texas Austin. And recently, Dr. Abhijit Kundu has graduated last year. And many MTech students. I'm fortunate enough to get sufficient funding from Department of Science and Technology and as well as CSIR to carry out this research work. It is still going on in this area. Let me start with this in brief, how Gangetic Plain has been formed, particularly in India, here particularly Himalayan, how it has been formed. It is about 6,400 kilometer journey, and it started with 2,000 kilometers certainly, and 300 kilometer compression in making the Himalayan itself. Now, in brief, how this Gangetic Plain starts. If you look at tectonic activities, initially it is kind of oceanic crust and lithospheres and sediments initially, and volcanoes are there. Over the period of time, this lithosphere and there is a deformed sediment here, and there is a deformed oceanic crust also. Over that period of time, there is a deformed sediment also there, and over the period of time, new sediment mounts, and this broken off lithosphere continues and sink. Then remains of the Tethys Sea, it is how geological map of the India it looks like. Now, if I take it back, so this is what we say, it's your Gangetic Plain. It's your Gangetic Plain. It is one of the most seismically active region in the world, I can say. So these vast alluvial soils are vast alluvial. There are soils, there are plants, and this particularly ash dikes, particularly in your power generation plants, coal ash based. So these ash dikes require huge land and proper utilization should be required. Based on that study, DST has given, and we are moving. I'll skip this, particularly your liquefaction mechanism. I can give it in brief. It is because of your once pore water pressure increase, contact forces loses, and liquefaction mechanism starts. Just in brief. So let me start with this. What is the motive that we have moved around? It was a very painful study, I can say. Almost 36 pond ash embankment. Initially, it was decided along the Gangetic Plain, but later on it was extended to go around all over India. So almost 36 embankment we started the study. Just few I am showing it what exactly happening, because we are sitting at Kanpur nearby UP. There are many thermal power plants. So Jhansi, Paricha, Anpara, Korba, Obra, Panki, Raebareli, Renusagar, Vindhyachal, Talcher. Talcher is eastern side, Aligarh and Panipat. These are very close locations to us. However, we moved from there to southern side. We have gone to Gujarat, we have gone to Bihar, Odisha, all along the places we have taken the ashes and pond ash, and detailed study has been given, and the report has been submitted in 2009 in comprehensive paper. Now, pond ash project scenario, if you look at how the ash disposal in India, this is very common, you know this. This is one, your wet disposal, and other is your dry disposal. Generally, dry disposal has been avoided because it creates environmental pollution. Wet disposal mixing with the water and the putty. So about, you see, if you look at the present scenario, 30% utilization of ash, about 56,700 hectares of land to require for ash pond by, it was 2020, the data was taken, and now 25 it will be increased. This amount of land required to prepare a ash dike, ash pond So how, unless it has not been utilized or properly somewhere else it has been used, then you need a kind of land shortage. So that's why this requirement is there, number one. Number two, is the pondas embankment stable? Safety against the earthquake? The question is no. The recent failure of this ice embankment, one is NTPC recently, that is Singrauli. Other one also, same, two ice dikes, in one is Singrauli, both are in Singrauli, one is NTPC, other is that is Reliance company. And near the Bihar and Odisha, that is, I don't remember, that also recently happened because of this proper kind of earthquake safety and measurement has not been taken. So, if you look at the pondas, particularly pondas, playas or bottomas, a mixture of bottomas or playas in any proportions. So, as per this river of 1996, basically it has been classified as either it is a, it is silty sand or a fine fraction of this sand fraction will be more. So a study has started in particularly in 2008 in this area, and it is still continuing. So I'm showing, instead of all results, to just pick it up 3 different parts. Of course, this is one of the PhD thesis part I have taken it. One is your culture side. Second is your Uttar Pradesh, where I'm sitting here, Pankia's type. And extreme one is your Panipat, Haryana, which is coming Zone 5. These aspects, we have taken it for as a case study. So before going to the sample preparation and other things, so what we have done is, we have started from the scratch. Almost field study, standard penetration test, seismic downhole test, and all density measurement we have carried out. Laboratory study, geotechnical test, chemical analysis, and cyclic trials, all we have done. So, what does it mean by means of your standard penetration test? The standard penetration test, once we have carried out, it almost gives an impression. This deposit is from loose state to either medium, dense, not even dense. Almost all cases, this SPTN is varying between 5 to 10, sometimes 10 to 15, this is the range. So this is the first indications that it is either in the loose state or it is in the medium dense conditions. Then from the field study, we have collected, and it is very difficult to take it out undisturbed samples, particularly pondas from the surface. It has been remolded. Now, this is the 3 classifications I put in. Culture, Panki, and Panipat, these 3 classifications put in. So, culture and Panki comes under poorly graded sand, and Panipat pondas comes under silty sand. If I classify, this will be SP, SV, and SMN. This classification is there. And as this sample is very difficult to prepare, particularly, so there are 2 types of sample preparations generally we go for. So that is based on your relative compaction, based on your relative density. So based on the relative compaction, depending upon how much of your fine fractions are there, and based on your relative density, coarse fraction how much is there. So by means of moist tamping technique and by means of suction method, generally, once it is a relative density kind of sand, you are doing a cyclic triaxials or simple triaxial CU and CD, then you have to go by means of suctions. Another problem is that, particularly let me go back to this one. Yeah. Particularly if you're taking the pondas and preparing by means of relative compaction or relative density by applying the suctions, it is high chance that this entire part will go inside. So it will choke the valve. So proper drainage and proper saturation may not happen. So GeoNet has been provided so that it will prevent, particularly going inside. This is the beauty. So details I could not get the photographs. Otherwise, this sample preparation technique is challenging, and it has been done by means of moist damping methods, as well as GeoNet provided for CD test or CU test around the periphery of this. Now, this is general cyclic behavior of pandas in solid dynamics, earthquake engineering. I'm just showing typical graph of your debris stress versus number of cycles, and your effective stress versus number of cycles, and core water pressure ratio versus number of cycles. So, of course, this has been cross-checked with each other. If you look at the core water pressure versus number of cycles, we are looking at core water pressure ratio as 1. That liquefaction starts, then is it happening with simultaneously other part? It can be cross-checked. Now let me come back to typical figure, put it, effect of loading frequency, confining pressure, and relative compaction of liquefaction resistance, particularly 3 parts, Talcher, Punky, and Panipat. If I look at these 3 graphs, cyclic strain versus number of cycles for initial liquefaction, and cyclic strain, these are 3 cases. I put it. A is considering your loading frequency, B is your effect of confining pressure, C is your relative compaction. If you look at the effect of relative compaction on liquefaction, potential is more significant, particularly Talcher Pandas samples. Talcher Pandas samples as compared to Punky and Panipat. So Panipat Pandas sample shows higher liquefaction resistance as compared to your Talcher and Punky Pandas under a particular frequency. These are all step by step. Once is field study, it gives an indications of loose state. Then we go for cyclic triaxial static test. There we got some results. Then we go for this analysis, and then we come draw conclusions what we are getting it back. Now, similarly, if you look at this, particularly your dynamic properties of the compacted pandas, typically 2 figures I put it. That is your dynamic shear modulus versus number of cycles, and damping ratio versus number of cycles. So, if you look at this this one, so the percentage increase in, if you look at this figure, percentage increase in the dynamic shear modulus will decrease in cyclic shear strain from 1.2 to 0.6% varies generally 7% to 15% and 10 to 21%. So this is what the clear indications it's giving, how it changes from depending upon the where it located, what kind of magnitude is there, cyclic test is there, and what is the proportion, what is the fine content, all will come into picture why it is happening. Though Talcher Pandas is located different and your Panipat is located different, I just put it 3 extreme cases. Then come to next part is your degradation index of the compacted pandas. These results, of course, based on your relative compactions. There is also relative densities. So if you look at the degradation index, this is a typical part, and you will be surprised to see that, particularly if you look at this is your Talcher and this one is your Talcher. It degrades in a very fast rate as number of cycle increases, and it is fast rate, and it is very steep up to 50 number of cycle. Then afterwards there is no more further change. But however, while comparing this Talcher Pandas, if I compare with this Punky as well as Panipat Pandas, if you look at the degradation index, it takes almost 200 to 300 cycles completely to degrade, rather than as compared to your Talcher. Talcher, it is in a very fast rate, The degradation index is well defined by ITRIS 1978. It's a ratio of dynamic second shear modulus in the NS cycle to the dynamic shear modulus in the first cycles. So this is well defined. If you look at the degradation index part, culture is degrading in a very fast rate. What does it mean? That means it degrades. If there is an earthquake, that means it continuously degrades. Then after 50 cycles, we can say that there is no more further changes. Maybe there is a plasticity, other part will be there. So that part I am not going right now. So this is what we got. The kind of first one is SPT and seismic downward test. From there, we range what is the shear velocity value in the range, and SPTN value generally 5 to 10. Then go to the other part, that is your cyclic Teixeil's test results. These parameters are required as input parameter, particularly analyzing Pondas embankment. So dynamic response analysis, if you look at, there are two. One is your by 1D analysis set and 2D analysis. So slope stability analysis by GEO5 has been carried out, and if you look at this particularly different value of horizontal seismic coefficient KH were used, and the value of KH for which the factor of safety is equal to 1 was considered as yield oscillations. And here there is section 1, section 2, section 3. And if you look at, this is Punky Arch Dike, this is your particularly Panipat Arch Dike. It is 6 meter. Here the water table is located approximately from the crest. It is below that 7 meter is water table here. And these are detailed dimensioning has been given. These are the assumptions that set, you know, everyone how this there. Then input ground motions we have considered northeast Indian earthquake, and for Punky and Panipat, because it is lying nearer to Himalayan thrust, so we have considered Chamba, Chameli and Uttarkasi. It has been accordingly either scale it down or scale it up accordingly. It has been done. Now come back to 2D response analysis. If you come back to 2D response analysis, and it has been done by means of OpenSys and constitutive modeling for particularly Pondas material, pressure dependent and pressure independent multi-material model generally used for cohesionless and cohesive materials. Then particularly 9-4 quad UP element, 9 noded with corner, 9 noded having 3 degree of freedom, and this interior will be 2 degree of freedom and zero length will be applied. First gravity analysis has been done, then followed by your dynamic resistance analysis has been carried out. This is how the numbering has been done, and this is your material property depending upon the confining pressure, depending upon all other conditions. This material property, input material property, has been taken from our dynamic or cyclic Teixeil as well as that static test results. So this is how detail has been given, what are the input parameter we have taken it. Then detailed convergence analysis has been done and validation has been done with the previously reported, though it is not with this as embankment, but it has been reported particularly with your 4.5 meter clay sand embankment. This is what the validation has been done, and graphically representation is there. Now if you come back to the dynamic response analysis, one is spaced upstream side and the numbering as there with this, and this particularly, the numbering how it has been done. It has been done with the help of there is your GID 7.2 origin flow 8, and the visualization also taken into picture so that we can take care of every part what is happening. Now let me come back to first one, the visualizations. If you look at here, variation of horizontal displacements of existing, that is means there are two conditions considered for this analysis. One is your existing water table conditions, and second one is your full saturation, that may be worst conditions. One's completely plot level. Recently, I got one bigger consultancy project recently, that is in Rihand we are working, that is your partial buttressing we are doing. That is considering a complete submerged condition. So there are two cases. One is considering natural water table, other is your full saturation or maybe submerged conditions. It is there. So if you look at there, the ranges, this is a typical diagram. What is your horizontal displacement? It is 1.33 meter. It's a quite large. Then come to, similarly I put it, come to vertical displacement, it is about 0.45 to almost kind of 1.6, 1.7, 1.8 meter. So as the node numbering has been done, I saw the typical part, how the node numbering has been made it, and from there, how it has been done. Then from there, this visualization has been there, the variation of your vertical as well as horizontal displacement of existing. Existing means we put it existing, as if the water table is the same condition where the water table in the existing is there. It has been put it here. Now, based on this, if you look at, we have three parts. One is field study, one is laboratory study. Laboratory study, field study give the indications directly. The Searle velocity value also we can put it, and SPTN value has been utilized, and laboratory dynamic property has been taken into considerations. Then we have carried out the response analysis, almost all asteroids, and a comparative study has been made, and it has been classified zone-wise. What kind of PONDAS is there? Of course, earlier it is there CA, different classifications are there, but we have given a detailed guidelines what will happen, what supposed to be done. Now let me put it in a very simple way of the conclusions. The results of 2D analysis reveals much higher deformation value. It is about 0.21 meter to 2.32 meter in horizontal, and vertical 0.41 meter to 2.02 meter. So it is almost all PONDAS, almost it is susceptible to liquefactions. Whatever I have shown these three cases. Then let me start with this, a new one. It was a challenging. It was a kind of challenging. It is a Renu-Sagar PONDAS embankment. If you look at the sea level here, 352. Here it is your 300. Now it is a 52 meter high PONDAS embankment. And Professor Dayal at that time, they have started this design, but later on it has been changed. Now there is bond 1, bond 2. So it is almost 52 meter. So ground water table, I can say water table is 7.5 meter below the crust. And this was interesting. And same way we have started with own generating our finite element code, OpenSys, as well as other part we have started it. So same way this SPTN values, particularly your PONDAS embankment as well as foundation soil. This is one of the publications of the Yadav et al. 2011. It has been taken. So PONDAS embankment, if you look at this particularly Sonbhadra district, this one is your Renu-Sagar PONDAS embankment, 52 meter height. If you look at here, it is almost between 10 to 15. If I put it, it is between 10 to 15. But foundation soil, it is slightly dense. It is 15 to 20 there. Then finite element analysis has been done. So both OpenSys, both it has been developed also. Then material properties, experimental investigation, this is your material property. It has been considered. Then the backbone curve, using finite element analysis, of course, it has been based on the cyclic tricycle experiment. It has been developed, and the backbone curves. Then there are pre-vibration analysis as well as post-vibration analysis has been done, and natural periods are evaluated using relationship given the gadget. So Then this Pondas embankment in seconds, if you look at the mode, fast mode after gadget, thus 1987 it is 0.63, and based on our study, finite element study, it is 0.7. Then come back to your, after this, the seismic analysis has been done, and 5 earthquakes considered Chamba, Chameli, Uttarkasi, Indian Burma, Xinjiang, and how it has been scaled down, scaled up, detail has been shown, and scaling factor has been put in there, and recorded how much is station of recorded, this has been put in magnitude in detail. Then isolation response spectra, if you look at isolation response spectra, particularly if you look at this slide, this isolation response spectra, if you look at, so it is observed that the amplification is not significant, particularly in foundations from bedrock to base of the embankment. However, the response significantly amplifies in the Pondas person in most of the motions. So FEM analysis indicates, this is our fundamental part, FEM analysis indicates more amplifications compared to SEC analysis, particularly at your top of the embankment for all earthquake motions. Then this is your isolation time history for your amplitude. So then displacement profile is also there. Peak ground isolation versus displacement, here peak horizontal and this, and the vertical is there. And the vertical displacement, even if you look at the vertical displacement, shows even higher amplification with crest level. With this, particularly this crest level, higher amplification is there. I don't want to go to the details. Let me go to the very simple one. So this is the comparison with the what are the available literatures. It has been given by ICMA ATL 2013. So this is the range has been given. So if you look at this, there is a large variation of response which may be attributed for different magnitude, energy content, dominant frequency of that, and mean amplification profile lies within the range provided in the literature. It lies within the provided in the literature. So Chamba and Xinjiang earthquake having low magnitude provided lower bound, and whereas Uttarkasi with highest magnitude, it is in the upper bound. So what would be the, from the numerical investigation, because we put it as a case study, it is a 52-meter height, a significant amplification in the isolation response has been observed between the base and crest of the embankment. The Pondas embankment has shown susceptibility to liquefactions. And next stage, this is what we have just started with your geosynthetic and the ground improvement technique all over there. How it can be done, because it is already constructed, is there. First raising, third raising, second raising is there. So buttressing part, we are just now involved, either partial buttressing or full buttressing. This is how the extended study is there. Consultancy is different, and this is kind of a research studies going on. So the entire presentation I have taken from the publications of my students, selected publications. So these are the selected publications from where it has been taken. It is really very difficult to do at a stress, field study, lab study, then analysis. It was kind of painful, go to the field, stay and do the job. But thankful to the students, means all the students, those who have associated, almost 6 PhD students graduated considering this area, and 10 to 12 MTech students. I just thank you, all of you. So this is how it is all about the talk. Any questions, any now?
Thank you, Mr. Patra, for a nice presentation and maintaining time. And 5 minutes are there for questions. The participants can post your questions so that we can ask the question to the speaker. You can forward that question to the speaker. Any questions? Since the chart is not there,
Can I have one question? Can I have one question?
Yeah, please.
Sure.
Professor Patra, it is very interesting study. Particularly, testing all these pond ash and all from different places and getting the properties. It's a very tough study, particularly experimentally. But I have one doubt in mind that when we try to estimate liquefaction based on the laboratory test results of the samples collected, but liquefaction is a phenomena which includes the ground. So now how do we kind of come to a conclusion that this is going to liquefy when it is on different ground? All the ash is above ground and we have the properties of the ground below. So how do we estimate the liquefaction based on the laboratory studies of the...
We have done the borehole up to 40-50 meter. Means we have gone beyond foundation level.
Okay.
So entire dike we started SPT, CPT and doing the bore log.
Yeah.
And suppose ash embankment is 6 meter, 10 meter. Only difficulty is Renusagar because 52 meter height is your ash. Then below there another we have gone another 30 to 40 meter ground surface.
Okay.
The problem lies collecting undisturbed soil sample, particularly ash. Though many places people claim that they can collect undisturbed pond ash samples, it is very difficult, and honestly, it is not possible to collect the undisturbed pond ash samples. These are all disturbed.
Yes.
So that's why relative compaction or relative density has been put in there.
Okay. In case the underlying soil is non-liquefiable, is there any chance of this bund being liquefiable?
Yeah, there are certain cases we have seen. We have gone through the Assam, and as well as this side of there is underlying is very strong rock, a very hard strata is there. So we are considering. Suppose there is a ash dike. Suppose there is no foundation soil. Suppose as if you assume that the foundation soil is a strong strata.
Okay.
So we are analyzing the only difficulty we are analyzing considering the bedrock there. Now, which is a kind of assumptions, but it is liquefiable because this is in case of a loose state. Because what happened while providing the pond ash embankment, generally we design the ash dikes. Here many ash dikes are involved. So now we have started with a trend. We are giving certain foundation, even ash material also inside the ground surface while doing it. So it is, of course, it is there. It is there. It is there.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Raghuveer Rao.